Here is a section entitled The Author's Note, and it includes a picture of Jennifer Holm's dad as a pilot here. I'll read that for you. Although this book was written before COVID-19, the copy editing and final production happened during the pandemic. I could never imagine how eerily relevant and poignant this fictional virus on Mars would become. The inspiration for this futuristic book actually came from the past, though. My father was raised on a dairy farm during the Great Depression. Even though it was a terrible time for both of his family and for the country, neighbors pitched in and helped one another. After my father grew up, he became a fighter pilot and served in the Korean War, and eventually became a pediatrician. He was no slouch. And after he passed away, I was eager to learn more about him. I'd always been interested in space, so I was excited to learn that many of the early astronauts, including Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and John Glenn, had been pilots in the Korean War too. They were just like my dad. It made the idea of going to space seem possible to me. And so I began to wonder, what would it be like to grow up on Mars? Not a high-tech, terraformed Mars, but a small family farm version. What would daily life be like? Where would you play? What would you eat? Would there be chores? Who'd be your neighbors? And most of all, what would a child growing up on Mars think of Earth, a place they had never visited but had only heard about? And then I imagined Belle, a curious, cat-loving, big-hearted 11-year-old living on the red planet. And I was off and running. Many of the things mentioned in this book are grounded in science. Using underground lava tubes, the large tunnel-like spaces left by flowing lava, has been proposed by scientists and engineers. The tubes could prove to be a practical habitat that would provide a natural barrier for humans from radiation and dust and freezing temperatures. Global dust storms on Mars are indeed a big deal. Occurring every few years, they can block light from the sun and last for weeks. During the global dust storm of 2018, NASA's solar-powered rover Opportunity went offline permanently. As in the book, traveling to Mars has always been a complicated matter. Mars's orbit brings the planet closest to Earth only once every 26 months. And this is known as a Mars close approach, and there's the reason that missions to Mars are timed to take advantage of this situation. Both NASA and the European Space Agency have suggested algae, specifically spirulina, as a food source. Algae could potentially provide oxygen as well. An algae-powered bioreactor that converts carbon dioxide to oxygen has been tested on the International Space Station. Finally, the enduring friendship of America and France has always been an inspiration to me. I think there's a little bit of Lafayette in Belle. And here's a quote from the Marquis de Lafayette. "No obstacle, no disappointment, no sorrow distracts me from the unique goal of my life, the well-being of all and freedom everywhere." The dream of humans going to Mars has been kept alive by countless people, from astronauts to scientists to entrepreneurs. I firmly believe we will overcome the many obstacles to a journey to the red planet. But what happens when we finally get there will prove far more difficult than the technical challenges. It's my hope that a future Mars will be a place where neighbors will help one another and play ping pong together. And ultimately, what this society looks like will depend on all of us, and maybe even the cats.